I remember he had expressions he used that nobody ever heard before. He found that I worked in a drugstore, and he says, "So do you make frappes?" I says, "Frappes? That sounds like a crude word for something." He says, "Don't you put ice cream in a container with milk and other sugary stuff?" I says, "Yeah, we call that a malt or a milkshake." He says, "No, that's a frappe. F-R-A-P-P-E, frappe." Where he learned that from, I have no idea. Maybe his mom called his milkshakes frappes. And then we'd have hot dogs once a week in the cafeteria. Lucky us. That's what Price Hill boys did. They ate hot dogs. Sometimes with their fingers. He called that a tube steak. Well, that makes sense. I mean, a hot dog should be a tube steak because it's a steak that's on a tube. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Other expressions. He had a poem. He liked poetry. He liked to read. He liked to write. He liked students that like to do that. If you could write poetry, you had a better chance of getting an A, and if you didn't write poetry, which is okay. But he had a poem he read to us once, and it was about daffodils, it was about flowers, it was about nature. And kids brought this up to him periodically about he says, "Oh, you gonna bring up those damn daffodils again?" I don't know if a daffodil ever got damned. Flowers shouldn't get damned, they should get picked. Anyway, that's all I got to say. Anybody else?
Richard, I'm going to follow you. So, Mother B taught me junior English at Elder High School in 1962. So I go back with him, and I'll tell you just a quick story. So, many of you remember that, I forget now who the pastor was that asked Father B to come serve at Bellarmine. And he had started the Sunday night youth mass at Resurrection in Lower Price Hill back in the late 60s. And the Jesuit pastor wanted that mass, 7:30 or Sunday night mass at Bellarmine. So Father B started that. Reno, when did you start? 69, yeah. So Reno was 69, was part of that crew. So anyway, so Mary Lisa and I met here in graduate school, and we were separately going to the 7:30 mass. We started dating, and then we went together, and we decided we wanted to get married at Bellarmine. And so I went over to the I don't know where I went, to the church, and whoever was the administrative assistant said, "Father B is in charge of weddings." So I got with Father B and I said, "B," and of course he said, "Saint, how are you doing?" And I said, "Well, you haven't met my fiance, but we want to get married here at Bellarmine, and I understand you're in charge of weddings." And he said, "Oh, that's terrific." I said, "But we're not parishioners." He says, "But didn't you all graduate from Xavier?" I said, "Yeah, that's all you need." So then I said, "But I have a favor. I have a bunch of friends who I was in school with in the seminary, and a bunch of them, and I've asked one of them to celebrate our wedding. Would that be okay?" He goes, "Oh my gosh, I'd love that. I say so many weddings. This is one less one I have to do. God bless you." My story. I could tell more, but I'm going to let others. I will just say, well, I'll say more.
Well, I've known Father Al many, many years, probably since I was in my 30s. And so one day, and this was in 2016, and the night before, Fred had asked me to marry him. And so I was so excited. One of the first people I told outside of my family was Al. So he had I forget if it was the noon mass or the 5 o'clock mass. But, so I went back in the sacristy and I said, "Al, I'm getting married." And he said, "Oh, thank God." It only took 40 years. he also preached at our wedding, and he said that we were in our, what was it, Fred? Indian summer of our lives. And I asked him for a copy of the homily. It was nothing like he said. There was no connection to it. But we were in our Indian summer. It was a wonderful gift he gave us to preach and Bill Burbright was celebrating. So it was a great occasion. We loved it.
Father Al was involved in my marriage to Fran in a sense too, because I had been a Jesuit scholastic teaching at St. X in the late 1960s. And a couple of my students who were from the west side of town and had grown up with elder kids, they started telling me about this fantastic mass that was referred to earlier. That was at Resurrection Parish in Price Hill on Sunday evenings, and they started telling me about Father B. So I decided to check this out. I wanted to, get to know my students better. So I went over and I started attending that Mass when I was a Jesuit scholastic. And it was considered heresy for me to go to the west side and come into close proximity with elder people. But anyway, a couple of years later, I'm out of the Jesuits and I meet Fran. And Fran is living on Sunset Avenue, which is about a 4 or 5 block walk from Resurrection Parish. So one of my first dates with Fran is to take her to Mass at Resurrection. And we became regulars there while we were dating. And then we found our identities as a couple in that context. Later, to go forward, we attended the funeral. This was some years later. The funeral of Al's sister, Ruth, and she was buried at St. Dominic's up on Delhi Avenue. And we went to the funeral, and we were startled to see at the funeral a woman named Lois Johannington, but her maiden name had been Lois Levy. And Fran and I think, both agreed that Lois was one of the most beautiful women you would ever see. I mean, she was just, it radiated beauty. She was really a fabulous looker, if I could sound listening here, but Fran would agree. And we went up to Lois after the Mass, and we said to Lois, we didn't know you knew Al, or did you know Al's sister? Why are you here? And Lois, whose maiden name was Levy, her father was Jewish, her mother was Catholic. Lois said, I used to date Al 40 years ago. So, my gosh. So, anyway, then there was a time when we had a big family reunion in town, and we asked Al if he could say Sunday morning Mass for us at a park. And he agreed to do it. And then we tried to pay him an honorarium afterwards, and he refused to accept anything. And so Fran and I, later at home, we said, we got to buy him something. And he talks all the time about going to the Quantum Cafe and, talking to students there. So we'll go buy him a gift certificate if they have it. So we went to the Quabbin. The guy behind the bar said, yeah, we sell gift certificates. Who's this for? And I remember Fran saying, well, you're not going to believe it, but it's for a priest. And the guy stops and he says, you mean Father B, right? He just knew. And then we gave a certain amount of money. Wasn't cheap. For this gift certificate, and he said, I'm going to double it because it's for Father be. And that tells you a lot about the kind of person he was.
This side of the room. Up, Ruth. Are you still warming up? You need to warm up, Reno, or are you good? Are you warming up? Because Ruth could say a word here, and then you're going to sing.
I wanted to tell people that if you get online on the Columbia website, you can, at least you could earlier, I assume it'll be up for a few days, watch his funeral mass that happened on Wednesday, and I was privileged to be there, and as well as a wake service that was on Tuesday night. And if that's still there, those of you who love Richard would be happy to know that Richard wheeled himself over in his wheelchair into the middle, took a microphone, and talked about stories about Al. And I'm particularly going to look at that again myself because Richard's voice is so low and raspy, but I thought if I could watch it again, I could turn up the volume. So it was certainly an honor and a privilege to be at Columbia for both the wake service and the funeral service, but I wanted you all to know that you can watch it as well. And the other thing, wait.
I just wanted to say, in addition to that we couldn't hear him either, and then there was a closed caption.
Oh, and you could put the captions up on, so if you want with Richard, the closed captions. The other thing I wanted to point out is Michael Graham gave the homily for Al's Mass. And one of the things he said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he talked about all the words that Al used to say, and we remember those. And one of the things that he said is basically, we could take some of those words and use them ourselves, put them in our vocabulary. So a little bit of Al would live on with us. And personally, I remember so often, and I'd walk into his room at Columbia, he would say, "What a joy." You all remember? What a joy. So I'm adding what a joy to my vocabulary.
Right from there. That's fine. Yep. Okay. Okay. You want to just
If it keeps going.
You're going to tell us who you are, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. First, I'm just going to test the microphone. Can you hear me? Do I have to swallow? Testing? Do I have to do Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. That mass was so amazing. I think I've sung my vocal cords dry. My name is Reno Angelini, and in 69, 70, 71, and 72, I was, along with Pete Hiley, the musicians at the 7 o'clock Sunday Mass, and I was the planner and basically the cantor. I don't think we were wise enough to call ourselves cantors at that time. I think we called ourselves song leaders, which now I wish the song leaders would back up when everyone knows the song. By the way, if you're a song leader. I had wanted to play Take Lord Receive because as I sat on the porch on my deck the other night singing with Al's picture of him leaning against a tree, I could show it to you. It's a beautiful picture of a park in Columbus, Ohio when he came to visit. I was singing a song that I wrote for him. I asked for power that I might. I can't remember the words. I asked for power, but I was given weakness that I may feel the need for God. I don't know if he ever shared that with you, but 50 years ago, he shared it with me, and I finally, 48 years later, I set it to music, was able to call him and sing it to him and then send it to him. But I sang that song looking at him, and then I sang this song that I'm about to sing. And then on the Take Lord Receive is the song, the Ignatian prayer that was him. Take my liberty. This is written by the son of Woody Guthrie. Like a tree that grows so tall, leaves turn gold, and now then they fall. They've gone down, but now they've grown. They're going home. Mountain streams may run and flow, clean the sands on which they go, flowing down like it had known it was going. Sunrise early in the dawn slips away, and then it's gone. Leaves the night to carry on, but it's going. This is written by Arlo Guthrie. Once a man, he lived and died. What he said, death could not hide, even though it's often tried. He was going home. And then B sings to us. So my friends, it's time to go. And this love will live to grow. But I want you all to know that I'm going home. If more of you talk about B, then I'll come up with another song. If you want to hear another song. Oh, I know. I actually sang that night. I don't know if you know that at his last Mass, this is how I remember it. So, we did some experimental things, and at times, in fact, I remember a nun coming up to me after one Mass and said, "Now, why exactly did you do that one verse of Full on the Hill?" And I said, well, the one reading was about you are fools for Christ. And here we are, Christ the King, but its gospel is Christ crucified. And I thought, isn't that our calling, to be fools for Christ? And I didn't sing the whole song. I didn't think all the words were appropriate, but I just thought, well, let this be a little springboard for your imagination. And she said, okay. Anyway, his last Mass, I'm in detuning, so this is going to work. I won't sing the whole song. He gets up, he has Mass, and there's a quiet at the end, and I don't know what made me do it, but I get up and I go. You man Bojangles and he danced with you. I mean, wrong tuning. In old worn out shoes, silver hair, ragged shirt, and baggy pants. And wouldn't you know, by verse 2, he gets up and does a little soft shoe, and the whole crowd goes crazy. I mean, the congregation goes crazy, and it was just, you had to be there. I'm not prepared to do Bojangles. I think I really did sing myself hoarse, but it was worth it. Anyway. I don't want to force anything on you, but if more people talk and then you want a little musical break, I'm here for it.
Hi, I'm Lynn Hiley. I'm Barbara Otting. So we have a message from B. So the Sunday, the 1st of June, my husband Peter and I went up to Pontiac and visited B in the hospital, and he was not there. I mean, his body was there, but he was hallucinating. I think that's the best way to say it. And he was not making sense when he spoke. So we spent about an hour with him, and we left and went to the hotel. And we both decided, I guess we've lost B. So spent the night, came back the next morning at about 10:30, and it was like Lazarus. We'd come back. And he was lying in his bed. We walked in and went, "Oh, saints! Oh, Lynn, Peter, or Barbara and Butch here." I always say your names together. He did. He'd say Lynn and Pete and Barbara and Butch. Anyway, we talked to him for about an hour and 20 minutes. And during that time, he said, "I have some letters in my room. And on the letters, there's a return address. And these are people who have written to me. And I'd like you, after I've died, to take those letters and write them a letter from me that expresses how much they meant to me, how important it was to be part of their lives." That being said, Barbara?
Well, that was kind of an impossible mission. Mission impossible. We really didn't have access to those letters or to the names of the people. But we feel like you know who you are, and we just hope you hear this message that there are so many of you out there that he valued so deeply. I can't begin to think of the things he would tell me about. Well, I think he read some of the letters that people had written him as part of his homilies to say, look at this person's faith, just to give examples to us. Can you hear it? Because it seems like it's going to It seems like it's going, oh, there we go. Ooh. Well, so, and we would go up to his room a lot at Columbiere, and I'd be amazed at all of you and people beyond. There would be stacks of letters and cards there. It was just amazing. I'd say, wow, B, all these people love you and are writing to you. I've never sent you a card. Well, he said, "Oh, Saint, I wish I could thank every one of them. Write them a note, give them a call, but I just don't have it. I don't have it in me anymore." He was getting tired. His body was just giving out on him. Even though his spirit was strong, he loved all of you. I just want to convey to each and every one of you, you've done so much for him. And people who might be watching this, I'm just thinking all the cards, letters, phone calls, visits, Grader's gift cards, eating Grader's with him, watching him eat a whole pint by himself. Maybe patching a hole in his favorite sweater, or naming your cat after him. There was just so much that people did, and we were saying that there's a whole continuum of people who he kept alive, and
It started the flame of faith in them, and it's grown. But there were other people who kept his faith alive and kept him going and supported him through his struggles. So there's a whole gamut of relationships with him, and he treasured them all. I want somehow to convey that if he could be here with each one of you, he would just keep going on thanking you, because he had so much gratitude in his heart for people from the Quad Cities and people who live all over it, elder people, ex-people, but these people are spread all over, and they hold their devotion to him. So I'm just asking you now to close your eyes a minute, be quiet, hear his voice say, thank you, saints, thank you, and what a joy.
Thank you. I just want to say one more thing. And Barbara's here. Somebody mentioned Lois, who was Bee's girlfriend at some point in time, and before he went to the seminary. And he told me this story, and I think it's pretty funny. So he said, I told Lois, I said, Lois, I'm going to go into the seminary. And she said, I guess they had a discussion. He said, by the way, I want to tell you, I spoke with a good friend of mine. I can't remember the friend's name right now. And he said he would be glad to date you too. And Lois looked at me and she said, Al Bischoff, you don't have to get a man for me. I can get my own man. And, we need to laugh. He was funny too. Everything else, he loved us. We're grateful for him, but he did make us laugh. Thank you all.
More? Side of the room? Your wife is pointing at you, Curly. See, she has the magic to persuade you to get him. Say something.
My friends call me Curly. My friend's name was Al. And it took me about 3 weeks to recognize other people called him Father. So I did recognize you. I saw you at Mass. You were wearing a different outfit. If there's one thing that was beautiful that I got to share with Al, was this idea of friendship. And I joined a men's group. And we were not very good at talking with each other. And that's why the group formed. And what a beautiful environment to practice recognizing our true selves and letting go of the pieces that hurt. And in the midst of this, people would walk by the room and they would say, why are you guys laughing so hard? And I always thought about that when I walked out, and I said, I'm not real sure because I can't remember what we all just shared. I don't have a story except be in the moment with whoever's in front of you and recognize that within me, you are with me too. So thank you, each one of you, for being here with me. And the gratefulness of seeing Al in a different way today and for many years to come. Thank you.
Last words, it might come back to you, Reno. Okay. Want to hear one more song from Reno?
Sure.
someone had asked me, someone had asked me earlier if I would play a song, the song that I had written for B, but I'd like to end with something that we could sing together. So do you mind if I sing? It's like a 2-minute song. It's very short. I would love to see a show of hands because this really was something you shared with me 50 years ago, so I'd love to know if he had shared it with you as well. But it sat on my piano forever. And 2 years ago, it finally came. It was 3 years ago during COVID. I asked for power that I might know have the praise of men. I was given weakness that I might feel the need for God. I asked for all things that I might enjoy life. I was given life that I might enjoy all things. I got nothing I asked for, but everything I hoped for. In spite of myself, my unspoken prayers were answered. I am among all most richly blessed. Most richly blessed. How many of you did you share that prayer with any of you? Ouch. Okay, I'm going to ask my wife if she would come up, and I would like you to join me, if you don't mind. Okay. Oh, and will you join us? Take Lord. Take, Lord, receive all my liberty, my memory, understanding, my entire. Give me only your love and your grace. That's enough for me. Your love and your grace are enough for me. Take, Lord, receive all I have and possess. You have given all to me, now I return it. Give me only your love and your grace. That's enough for me. Your love and your
receive, all is yours now. Dispose of it, wholly according to your will. Give me only your love and your grace. That's enough for me. Your love and your grace are enough for me.
Thank you again. Thanks to everyone who shared, who spoke. Yeah, what a celebration. What a joy. Again, Charleston Pilgrims, please take some of this food, take all this food. You can put it in your refrigerator and then bring it on the bus. That would be great. I think Al would be very pleased about that. Whatever's left over, I think Curly has a place where we can bring that and donate it. So, and thank you, Paul, for paying for our lunch here. God's holy people. God's holy people. All right.